Major funding for Florida Matters comes from the Mosaic Company, a leading producer of fertilizer made from phosphate, a natural resource found in Florida. America's farmers depend on Florida phosphate for their crop nutrition needs. Mosaic, helping America grow.
We're going on a trip today to explore the many ways to get around town. We'll also take a look at the political gridlock going on behind the scenes that could affect the way you travel. Come on aboard. I'm Irene Mayer. Welcome to Florida Matters. Getting from point A to point B, whether you're seeing the sights in Sarasota or navigating the I-4 corridor, can be a bit of a headache in Florida. We talked with some viewers about how they feel it is to get around town. Here's what they had to say.
Round, round, get around, I get around, yeah, get around, round, round, I get around, I get around, get around, round, round, I get around, get around, round, round, I get around.
I get around town mostly by the bus, but you know, sometimes I carry along the bike, and it's convenient by putting the bike on the bus. And it's also a great transportation when you don't have a car.
I use every possible mode of transportation. I own a car and I have a bike, and I walk as much as I can.
I have my own transportation, but there are times when I have to leave a vehicle up in North Tampa and take the bus back home to South Tampa.
We're going to take a water taxi today.
I take Heartline bus sometimes.
I use public transportation system, known as the bus system.
And we asked them what they would like to see different.
I believe that we need better transportation or faster between here and Orlando.
I used to take a commuter train from San Jose to San Francisco and back every day, and it was wonderful. It was inexpensive. There was no parking problems. Senior citizens had an easy ride. It was a good deal. This is one of the first places in the world that I've lived where we didn't have that available.
I would like to see maybe the city of Tampa have more places where people could park their cars coming into town and take the bus the rest of the way in.
What I'd like to see for Tampa is a well-developed light rail system that will sort of bring more population back to the center downtown neighborhoods. Combine that with regional buses, a good bicycle network, pedestrian-friendly roads, and it'll be a great place to be.
Florida is one of the most popular places in the country for motorcycle enthusiasts. And because of the recent rise in gas prices, the number of bikers on Florida roadways is increasing. If you drive a car or a truck, you may have noticed. If you haven't, that could be a life or death situation.
Get your motor running, head out on the highway, looking for adventure, and whatever comes our way.
Motorcycle riding is an American pastime, and it's growing in popularity in Florida, according to the state's Department of Highway Safety and Motor Vehicles. In 2000, Florida had just over 255,000 registered motorcycles on its highways. Now that number is over 515,000.
We have more motorcycles registered in the state of Florida, I think, than any other state other than California, so the second most in the United States. And we do have riding that we can ride 365 days a year. If you can put up with a little bit of rain from time to time, we can ride as far as temperature all year long, which is something that our northern states can't do. And because of that, there are a lot more riders, a lot more motorcyclists on the road every single day.
Which poses new challenges for everyone on the road.
I always triple check because I'm so afraid of hitting a motorcycle now. That's like one of my worst fears driving.
For that reason, legislators have created a law for all new drivers to take a mandatory safety course.
The Motorcycle Safety Foundation, which you have to take now, is a 3-day course, which I think is good other than just going down and get your license. But I think the people, civilian-wise, they need a little bit more training on a motorcycle.
Motorcyclists come in all ages and sizes, and their level of experience is greatly different. We teach a riding course here, and we see that every weekend, and we also see it with the bikes that come into the service department, whether it's just somebody that maybe went through a turn too fast, or maybe went through a turn, you know, a little shorter than what they should have, or maybe somebody ran into them.
A lot of these street bikes, they're meant to go fast, straight and fast, and a lot of these guys, that's what they want to do, in and out of traffic, and passing people where they're not supposed to. That's how we get a lot of our fatalities around here. It's not really the motorcycle, it's really the rider.
But while inexperience accounts for some accidents, experts agree that with the majority of wrecks involving motorcycles, the car and truck drivers are at fault.
I would say probably 70% of the time, normally it's the car operator's fault. And most of the time, it's like I said earlier, they just didn't see him. And that's their biggest excuse for, you know, what happened. It's, I didn't see him. He was coming too quick, or he, you know, came out from behind a car. They didn't see him behind the car.
Jerry Bradford is a firefighter for the Tampa Fire Department, and he's seen his share of motorcycle accidents.
You always anticipate that the injuries are going to be more severe because of the fact they're on a motorcycle. They're going to be on the ground. You know, if they're not wearing their helmets, you know, if they're not wearing the right gear, the right protection, there's going to be some serious injuries. We go to them, you know, probably on an average, you know, 2 or 3 times a week of some kind of a motorcycle accident within the city. It's just one of the inherent dangers of the motorcycle.
And the results of a crash can be devastating.
These motorcycles, when they hit a car, a lot of times it's in a side, it's in a T-bone type accident. And they'll bury the bikes in the cars, you know, and you may have people that are trapped in the cars because of the amount of damage done to them.
Some riders say car and truck drivers need to concentrate more on the road.
When people look, they look and lean in as opposed to staying in their lane. So a lot of times we get pushed to one side of the lane or another, or somebody will just jump into a lane as not seeing us very well.
I have a close call at least once a month where a driver will either come in front of me, cut in front of me, turn, or just pull out in front of me where they just don't see you. And the key is being seen.
We run into the same problem on these fire trucks, you know, when we're out. And again, it's most of the time it's cell phones and just being distracted.
Bikes are smaller and they are very quick and very fast, and they can not be in your mirror and then they can be in your mirror. So you have to always kind of be aware and always look out for them.
Law enforcement and civilian bikers both agree that smaller vehicles should exercise defensive driving techniques to ensure they always have an exit plan in case the larger vehicles can't see them. And that extra consideration for smaller vehicles on the road may lead to safer conditions for all drivers.
A motorcycle has a right to their lane, like a motor vehicle does. This is considered a motor vehicle, so you have people driving have to look for that bike and yield. If they're in the lane, you need to pay attention.
For Florida Matters, I'm Joshua Stewart.
There's no doubt that your personal needs will dictate the type of transportation you choose, but we wanted to talk to city planners about how they make decisions regarding public transportation.
Driving through West Central Florida poses unique challenges for a metropolitan area our size.
Here we are in 2009, and there are not many options for people other than the automobile.
The Tampa Bay region lags behind in transportation options compared to other cities in the country.
Sadly, we're behind the 8 ball, and we're falling even further behind each and every day that we don't move forward. Tampa Bay and its region is the only metropolitan region in this country, except for Detroit, that doesn't have a mass transit system that interconnects various modals and mechanisms of transit.
City planners recognize this dubious distinction as a call to action, and with voters' help, formed the Tampa Bay Area Regional Transportation Authority, also known as T-BARTA.
Really came about as part of the business community and governments in the area looking at transportation and saying we're missing something. And particularly from an economic competitiveness and development perspective, we need to include transit and we need to think about things regionally.
We recognize we can no longer keep building highways and roads to meet our transportation needs. So we need a regional transit system that crosses county lines. As you know, our areas keep growing outwards. You have to be able to bring people from where they live to where they work and where they shop.
One of the stumbling blocks to better transportation in the Bay Area is agreement among the different political jurisdictions.
All of our residents, as they travel about the region, don't ever think about a political jurisdictional boundaries. They travel somewhere. They just want to get from where they are to where they want to go. We've never looked at it that way. And we've also never had an entity that's been able to not only plan it, but to also implement it on a regional basis. That's what TBARTA is about.
Even with community agreement to improve the options for transportation, it still comes down to money.
Florida city systems have not been very well funded compared to cities around the country. For example, on a per capita basis, we get about $25 to $40, depending on how you look at the numbers, per person per trip. You take a city like San Francisco, where they get $441 per trip, it's a little bit of difference to that end. Even Miami puts in maybe $150 per passenger per trip. So we really need to be looking at all the revenue opportunities and the type of things we need to do in order to provide the services that we need.
So TBARTA and other community planning organizations are looking at cities across the country that share similar attributes to the Tampa Bay region. They hope these model cities will provide ideas for transportation expansion locally. 3 metropolitan areas in particular are Phoenix, Dallas-Fort Worth, and Charlotte.
If you go to Charlotte and you start looking at what they've been through and how they have sort of evolved, would never be the way you wrote the script. You would have done it on paper a different way. But what you have to look at, and what they did there, was they put a new transit corridor in place, and all of a sudden that meant that area was going to be the next area of growth and development, and frankly, economic development, job creation. No one 10 years ago would have ever dreamt that area would be so viable and dynamic like it is today. So those are 3 areas that we're looking at, and as this city and this region continues to grow and look at those, I am confident that we will be able to, with the business expertise and all the other stakeholders at the table, we'll be able to come to that sort of unique mix of components that we need in order to see it for the future.
With traffic congestion on the rise and urban sprawl seemingly everywhere, city planners understand they need to avoid reinventing the wheel and instead are trying to emulate the best practices of these model cities, then present their ideas to the public.
We're going to have to ask our constituents, what are we willing to give up financially, if necessary? Do we go forward with a transit tax, which Hillsborough County is talking about doing, that will be solely devoted, that I can look anybody in the face and say, if you give me this penny, it will be spent solely on transportation and transit, and here's the timeline, here's where it impacts you, and here's how you can benefit. It goes back to that quality of life, and I do believe that you can find the money between our federal partners. Every other city and metropolitan area around this country has gotten considerable federal money to jumpstart their programs. The state has money available. Their criteria is it has to be regional. It can't just be one city or one county doing it. But we have that. We have that plan. And so with that, I'm convinced that we can go and do that, and we can find the money if we have the will to do so.
I do believe that if we put together a sensible, cost-efficient plan, and if we say to folks, look, this is what we're going to build, this is what we're going to do, and this is how it's going to improve your quality of life and help produce jobs in the future and help relieve this trend towards urban sprawl and instead move more towards smart growth, I believe that people will support it.
All aboard! One possible solution to our transportation problems is light rail. Light rail is the latest term used to describe electrically powered railway cars such as streetcars. Tampa's relationship with the streetcar goes back to the 1800s. It thrived until right after World War II. Streetcars are making a comeback now as a novelty, but some would like to see them evolve into an all-purpose, efficient transportation system that connects us to surrounding counties. It's a big issue, and decision-making deadlines are approaching.
Florida has a long history with the rail industry. Beginning in the late 1800s, railroads opened possibilities for development, creating communities alongside rail lines, and proving that South Florida was much more than just mosquito-infested swampland. Tampa was a hub for rail activity and even ventured into light rail operation during the early 20th century. Ybor City had streetcars operating successfully long before it became a tourist mecca. But after World War II, as technology improved and the use of buses became more commonplace, Tampa's streetcar system came to a halt. The resurgence of streetcars in 2002 brought back a nostalgic form of transportation for visitors and downtown commuters alike. But today, streetcars serve a very limited area, so there still exists a need for mass transit that would offer a greater number of commuters alternatives to driving. Over the past 30 years, new communities have cropped up farther away from the area's major employment bases.
We've allowed urban sprawl to go unabated in this area and throughout the state of Florida. You dry up the wetlands, build a subdivision, Valrico Oaks Phase 1, 2, 3, and 4, right? And it doesn't matter how far away you are from your employment center, just keep on building.
But what has traditionally happened in Florida and continues to this day is that the cost of land is less. We don't really invest in our urban core and this infrastructure. And so in order for someone to get a new place to live or a place where there's a sense of community, they're forced to go to a place that they can afford, and that typically is in suburbia.
Our citizens are also telling us very clearly they want options and alternatives and choices. Presently, they don't have many. The primary mode of operation in terms of moving about the region is you have to get in a vehicle and a car and drive. If you don't have a vehicle, the cost of transportation has been a significant issue and challenge for our citizens. They really want alternatives and options, and that's what we're looking to provide.
One idea for light rail expansion is to connect downtown Tampa to the University of South Florida and toward Tampa International Airport.
From my perspective, the ideal system here would be a light rail system that would connect the University of South Florida in Hillsborough County, its main campus, to other campuses throughout the region, both Lakeland, into St. Petersburg to the St. Pete campus. And as this university and frankly other colleges and universities continue to grow at the junior college level and that sort of thing, to tie them in. Because I think at that point, if you look at the map, you've got the ability to move people around.
We also recognize transportation is not just something to get people from point A to point B. It also has other implications because a good transportation system can really promote our economic competitiveness in this area, as well as enhancing people's quality of life, because we can help people spend less time in their vehicle, spend more time with their family.
Tampa Mayor Pam Iorio has her eyes on a proposal for the 2010 ballot that would use a sales tax or other tax money to build an expanded rail system.
If ever there was a time for community activism, this would be the time. We do not have a modern transit system. And you know what? There's no reason in the world why Charlotte should have it and we don't, why Dallas should have it and we don't, Salt Lake, Denver, Phoenix. I can name almost every major metropolitan area of this country, and they've all taken the plunge. They've all built their rail systems. And even though there's always been folks who have been naysayers and opponents, as soon as that rail's built, they all say, when is it coming to my neighborhood?
For Florida Matters, I'm Carson Cooper.
Who would have thought just 20 years ago that a machine like this, a Segway, would be a commonplace form of transportation? Some people even use them to commute to work. Larry Elliston introduces us to one man who turned his commute to work into a way of life for his whole family using a different set of wheels.
Early morning on the back step. After putting on his own socks and shoes, Gabriel Tenaro does the same for his 3-year-old son, Eli.
Like a garbage.
Okay. You want to climb back inside?
Yeah.
Love you, buddy. See you this afternoon. Bye.
There's just something about a St. Petersburg morning that seems to click with Gabriel. It must be how he gets to work. Gabriel commutes on 2 wheels, not 4.
A lot of people, when I tell them that I ride to work, think I'm a health nut or a fitness junkie, or that they don't really seem to get that. Mostly, I'm doing it because I really like it.
Once across busy 22nd Avenue North, You start to see what Gabriel likes about his 12-minute ride to All Children's Hospital. Is there a better place to start the day than a scenic cruise along Crescent Lake Park?
I certainly don't miss driving, being stuck in traffic and in the car out here. I get fresh air, get to see a little natural beauty before I get to work every morning. It also helps me to be more relaxed at work. It's like I get to work and I've already done something good. You know, you're already having a good day. It kind of sets the tone. I definitely enjoy it.
Pedal power sends Gabriel down quiet tree-lined streets paved in red brick. It's a daily commute that allows this native of the Sunshine City to experience the St. Petersburg of old. This daily commute started about 3 years ago. It's eliminated the need for owning 2 family cars. One is plenty. Besides saving a few bucks, there's less pollution, too.
I try not to aggrandize it by feeling like I'm saving the world, but I really am proud of the little bit that I can do to help the planet, you know, be a better place. Clean air is certainly something everybody needs.
Just past the historic Mirror Lake Public Library, Gabriel slips into downtown. He moves along 5th Street North, then takes a right on Central Avenue, then a left on 6th Street. But for all the freedom and benefits of a bicycle, there's always the danger.
You know, when you ride a bike, there are folks who don't see you. I've certainly had a close call or two. I did have a driver once inform me that I didn't have the right of way, no matter what, at a stop sign, because they were the automobile and I was the bicycle.
But still, Gabriel wouldn't trade places for the world. On a bike, he feels connected. He feels alive.
I feel like it's a privilege to be able to be out here every morning. So glad to be in Florida. Enjoy the sun, the weather, the landscape, our history.
On this commute, there's no problem finding nearby parking. Is a spot inside the building close enough? Try doing this with your car. After a quick change of clothes he carries in his backpack, Gabriel Tenaro is ready for the day. In a great frame of mind from a great bike ride, Gabriel's job keeping up with the website for All Children's Hospital is a pleasure. On the return trip home, Tenaro will take a longer route along St. Petersburg's scenic waterfront. He can't wait. In the Tenaro household, using a bicycle for transportation is not limited to just Gabriel. It's a family affair. It's almost 2:20 in the afternoon and time for Leslie Tenaro, Gabriel's wife, to step away from her handmade jewelry business and pick up the kids from school. Not with the minivan, mind you. Sometimes it will sit idle in the driveway for days. With 3-year-old Eli tucked away in the trailer, Leslie's Bicycle Express is right on schedule.
I use a bicycle during the day to transport my kids mostly and get the everyday errands taken care of that are close by, like going to the grocery store or even taking the car in for a repair and we'll bicycle back.
Parked in the shade at North Shore Elementary, Leslie is waiting for Eli's 6-year-old sister, Anna Tobin, and his 7-year-old brother, Edison.
All right, Edison, you're the leader.
Today, a classmate is joining Anna Tobin and Edison on the 10-minute ride home.
All right, gang, let's go.
Leslie and Gabriel believe educating their kids about using a bicycle as an acceptable form of transportation is a class by itself.
We do hope that they're going to take a lesson from it, that they're going to learn that you don't have to get in a car to go 2 blocks. That you don't have to make extra time for fitness. You can work it in. You know, it's a lifestyle of being fit, and you save money. It generally makes for happier kids and happier people.
I definitely enjoy it. Plus, I mean, how can you not love this?
Where would you like to go, Irene?
Wherever Tampa River Taxi takes us.
Sounds good to me.
All right. Thank you for joining us for Florida Matters. The discussion continues on WUSF.org/Florida Matters. You can post comments and opinions, and we'll be sure to get back with you. Until next time, I'm Irene Mayer.
Major funding for Florida Matters comes from the Mosaic Company, a leading producer of fertilizer made from phosphate, a natural resource found in Florida. America's farmers depend on Florida phosphate for their crop nutrition needs. Mosaic, helping America grow.